On October 18, 2013, Sega released Sonic Lost World on the Wii U. It was a game which received quite a mixed reception, with both fans and critics alike. Aside from some launch controversy involving pre-order bonus extra lives, it received some post-launch DLC, and then it more or less just faded away from memory. Almost 2 years on from that release, on October 7th, 2015, Sega surprised everyone by announcing that Sonic Lost World would be getting a re-release on the PC. Fans and critics at the time were in a state of curious bewilderment. The first reaction was, why would Sega re-release such a mediocre title? The second was curiosity. How would Sega translate the Wii U's unique control scheme for the PC? For fans and press, they would get an early answer to these questions, because a few days before its PC release date, Sega hosted a launch party for the game. A party which at the time was going to be the first of many open launch party events. But from what happened at this party, it ended up becoming so notorious with Sega, it ended up being the first and last party that Sega ever hosted with fans for the next 4 years. This is the story of the Sonic Lost World PC launch party, and why it was the last launch party that Sega ever invited fans to for the next 4 years. Before we talk about the party itself, let's just go over how this party actually started. We've previously talked about launch parties and launch events for different games on this channel, and how it's rare for the general public and fans to be invited to such events. Sega were also very restricted into who they invited to their launch events, but between 2006 and 2015, Sega had begun to be more open with their projects and involvement with the community. Sega Europe especially had worked closely with fans on some of Sonic, as well as speaking and meeting with fans at different game conventions. Sega started to recognise some fans just as they would familiar professional journalists. And this came to a head on September 15th, 2015, when Sega Europe hired Dan Sheridan as the Sega Community Manager for Europe.
Welcome to Sega Central. I'm Dan Sheridan, otherwise known as This Is Action Man, and I'm your new host and Sega Europe's Community Manager.
At the time of his employment, Sega Europe were at the most open that they had ever been with inviting members of its communities to become involved with their products and promotions. And Dan was really keen to reach out to the community at every level. It didn't matter if you were a major news site or just a lonely YouTuber with a few hundred subscribers. Dan was keen to reach out to everyone. He even reached out to me and revealed that he planned to get key community members involved in future projects, including a monthly community livestream which he hoped to start. The first big event which would kickstart this new community-focused approach would be a launch party for Sonic Lost World on PC, held on Halloween of 2015. But this party didn't actually start off at being a community event. It first appeared as an invite-only press event. Shortly into October of 2015, I received an email from Sega asking if I'd like to go to the launch party to cover it with a few other journalists. I instantly said yes, and I was really looking forward to it. Then a few weeks later, only 3 days before the launch party itself was due to be held, Sega announced that the party would now be a ticketed event open to the public. The only restriction on entry was that you had to be over 18 years of age to attend. Along with the announcement came a few tentative details about the party itself. Guests would be able to play Sonic Lost World on PC a few weeks ahead of launch, as well as meet the new community manager. Goodie bags would be given to the first 50 people who attended, themed refreshments would be provided, and even competitions would be held to win prizes. And the tickets were completely free. The event would be held at Loading Bar in London, and if you've never heard of it, Loading Bar is a video and board game themed bar in which you can go for a drink, even have food delivered, sit back and relax, or if the mood takes you, play board games and even video games. So what exactly happened at the party, and why did it become just a little bit infamous within Sega Europe itself? Well, I'm now going to tell you what happened and what I found when I turned up to the event. The party was due to start at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and since there was the promise of goodie bags to the first 50 people, I made sure that I was going to be there early. We were greeted by Dan, who took us into the bar area, and then we immediately saw a Sonic Lost World display. We were then ushered downstairs into the basement gaming area of the bar, and the area was set up really well. Sega had brought in several high-end PCs and monitors, and had the game running on them all, and there was a table that was filled with goodie bags. Shortly after we arrived in the basement, Dan introduced himself and gave everybody a small Sonic Lost World card, which had a Steam code for the game on it, and I still have my little card to this very day. Dan then told us there wouldn't be any competitions since he hadn't received the prizes, but to make up for it, he would get the details of the first 10 people who attended the party and send us all a very special Christmas gift. We were then allowed to play the game, and Dan asked us if we would all like a special Sonic-themed drink. Naturally, we all said yes. A few moments later, Dan returned with a tray full of drinks, and ladies and gentlemen, say hello to Gin and Sonics. This is a Gin and Sonic. It's a variation of Gin and Tonic, just with blue colouring in it, as well as this golden ring effect around the glass. From what I remember, it was actually quite tasty. The other themed drink that was on offer was Tails' Tornado Twist. I really don't remember much about this drink, except it had a coconut flavour to it, and for some reason, I don't think I liked it as much compared to the Gin and Sonic. It was at this point that Dan told everyone who was there, drinks are all free at the bar. Just use the password TAILS when you order your drink. You can also get non-alcoholic drinks too. We'll come back to this in a moment, because how this was worded is one of the reasons why the party became just a little bit infamous. So the party was a very informal and relaxed affair. In fact, if you look closely at this footage, you can just make out me literally sat there in a chair drinking a Gin and Sonic. After the first hour, Dan began to mingle with people, and I spoke to him about the event. I told him that I thought this was a great idea to do launch events like this with the fans. It would without a doubt create a lot of positive word of mouth when fans left and spoke about what they played. And I then asked him if Sega had planned to do any other launch events for any of their future upcoming releases. Dan told me that he wanted to do more events like this, but not just for Sonic. Sega had greenlit a fan launch party for an upcoming Yakuza title, as well as several promotional events similar to this one for titles which were already out. The idea being is that it would give a small boost in post-launch promotion to titles which Sega had already released. These events would follow a similar format to the Lost World launch party one, and I was told that if the Lost World event did really well, the other events would almost certainly go ahead. So, you now might be thinking, what exactly happened at these events? Because Sega certainly didn't do any fan launch parties after this event, and everything so far sounds okay. So what exactly happened? Well, after the first 2 hours of the event, as more people began to turn up, a little bit of a perfect storm was brewing in the form of the bar tab. When the party started, only a handful of fans turned up. It was also before the bar actually opened up to normal customers. And you might also remember how, for those who got there early, we were told drinks are all free at the bar. Use the password TAILS. You can also get non-alcoholic drinks too. Even in the basement area with just a few of us, we all interpreted that as being the Sonic-themed drinks are free, including any other soft drink. But some people decided not to ask Dan for clarification on that, but the bar staff themselves. And the bar staff said, yeah, I think so. Yeah, you can get anything for free. Sega's paying the tab. And with that, people came back from the bar with very expensive cocktails, which were priced between £10 to £15 each. And some people were drinking a lot. A few hours into the event, the bar eventually opened to general customers, and people were coming in who had no idea there was a launch party going on in the basement. And a few of them, hearing what was going on, wandered downstairs, and Dan, being as nice and as welcoming as he was, invited them in and told them the password for the free Sonic drinks. But what nobody knew is that upstairs, the bar was full to capacity, and the password began to spread around the bar like wildfire. Even people who didn't even know that there was a Sonic game in the building got the password and were ordering drinks. A lot of them. Several hours later, with the bar nearly full to capacity, I decided to go get myself a drink. And when I was at the bar, Dan was in conversation with the lady serving drinks. I only caught the end of the conversation, but it basically went like this. "The drinks are all free, yeah?" To which Dan responded, just the Sonic ones. There was a look of horror from the bar staff as they handed him the current bar tab. It turned out there had been a very big miscommunication. The bar staff were all under the impression that Sega were going to pay for all the drinks, not just the Sonic-themed ones and the non-alcoholic ones. Dan then looked slightly horrified himself and said, "I'll just make a call and get this sorted." And this is why I think that the Sonic Lost World launch party was the first and last launch party that Sega ever invited fans to, despite it being a big success, because basically, the Sonic fans drank too much booze!
Oh, yeah.
It seems that the Sonic-themed drinks were actually quite cheap compared to the rest of the menu, but when the first person got a non-Sonic-themed alcoholic drink on Sega's tab, everybody started to get the most expensive drinks on the menu. Some people did this multiple times. Then when the bar opened for regular customers, they got the password and they started to get free drinks too. What should have been a relatively small bar tab must have ended up costing double, if not triple, what Sega had initially budgeted. Sega did not hold another fan launch party again for over 4 years. The next time Sega held a similar fan party like this was for the launch of the PS4 title Judgment. This too was held at the loading bar, only this time it was a heavily restricted event. All the guests were given a voucher, which they were able to exchange at the bar for one free drink. So I feel I should end this video with giving a little bit of a small explanation and justification as to how the bar kept giving away so many drinks. Some people might be thinking, how did this go on without anyone noticing? Well, the reason for that is simple. Dan was the only person from Sega there, and he was busy being an excellent community manager at the time. You see, at this event, a few people turned up to it who were extremely shy. So shy, in fact, that at times it looked like they were too scared to even ask if they could try the game. And several fans who were actually at the event noted afterwards how professional and empathetic Dan was to these fans. This was the first time many of them had ever met him and certainly interacted with him. And afterwards, many people commented on how professional and how excellent he was to all the fans that were there. He would often just sit with these fans and talk to them about literally anything. What they did for a living, what they were studying at college, you name it. The games were kind of secondary because he took the time to make everyone feel safe and comfortable in situations which they clearly were finding difficult, which is probably worth the price of a few extra beers. I mentioned earlier how fans who got to the party early were promised a Christmas gift. Well, in mid-December of that year, I received one of these, the 2015 Sonic Christmas sweater. At the time, these were quite pricey, and I was amazed that I got this given to me for free, especially considering how much money we'd all drunk. So, I think that's everything I can possibly say about this launch party. It's one of those really obscure and almost lost events, and sadly, due to the big miscommunication, Sega didn't do another one for a long time. But if anybody from the Sega Europe community team does watch this video, and I know that a few of you guys do, please consider bringing these events back. The idea of hosting a small launch party for a game and allowing fans to come along and have a hands-on experience with it a few days before release, heck, even bring a developer or an artist or anyone who worked on the game just to talk to fans about what it's actually like to work on a title. Keep it in a really informal setting, similar to the Lost World party. It would generate so much buzz and you get some of the best pre-launch word of mouth, one which has come from your own fans. Oh, and make sure the bar staff know who's paying for what drinks. See you next time! Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of Badnik Mechanic. If you enjoyed it, please click the subscribe and bell notification button to join the Badnik army. And if you'd like to support the work I do further, please consider supporting me on Patreon or by giving me a one-off coffee tip like these amazing people did. Links to do so are in the video description. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram for more adventures and future video updates. But most of all, just thank you for taking the time out to watch this video and enjoy the work I do. It really does mean the world to me. Thank you.